Hello students, so today we are going to learn a new topic, that is plant water relation, chapter number 6, first part. Now, according to the name of the chapter, I put the animation slide. Here you can see water droplet evaporating on a leaf, here water droplet falling on flower, and here this particular animation shows the water is important for every aspect of life. Now here the content, what you are going to learn in this particular part of the video: properties of water, water absorbing organ, water available to roots for absorption, absorption of water by roots from soil, that is by process of imbibition, diffusion, osmosis, osmotic pressure, in short OP, facilitated diffusion, and water potential given by the symbol psi. Now I put one more image over here showing the water droplets on flower and a beautiful photography done, how the droplets depicting the background, the flower or the plantlet, right? Now coming to the introduction part of the topic, plants obtain variety of substances like water, minerals, nutrients, food and gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide from its surrounding, right? Now plants take up all these things, right, from water, minerals, nutrients, food, gases, mainly O2 and CO2 from its surrounding. Productivity in plants is mainly affected by the non-availability of water. That is, in case if the water is not available, then everything will be affected, because all this absorption of nutrients, minerals, food, everything will be depending on the availability of water. In case if it is not available, then it can cause a major trouble. That's why the first animation, as I shown you, the water which is important for entire earth or entire universe, water is considered as elixir of life. That's why the first animation I had put up, water constitutes almost 90 to 95% of most plant cells and tissues. So the plant cells, tissues, their major part is nothing but water. In that case, if the water is not available, the entire cells and tissues might dry out, or we can say desiccate. Water helps the cells to maintain turgidity and shape, so it remains in its position or shape because of the presence of water in cells and tissues. So I just added a two image over here. First image showing the entire plant part. If you just see the labeling, right from the lateral root, primary root, root hair, root tip, root cap, also the ground tissue present in the stem region, the withered cotyledon, the seeds present inside the fruit, along with the fruit, vascular tissue, nodes, internodes, bud, epidermis, the shoot tip, the young leaf, flowers, right? All the parts are seen in this particular plant image. Also added another image where the first point states plant absorb variety of substance, right? Water, minerals, nutrients, food, gases. So this particular image shows all these parts. You can see here the root absorbs oxygen, giving out carbon dioxide. Roots absorb water and minerals. Xylem transports water and minerals to the root, right? The water which is absorbed through the root is conducted to the various parts of the plant, that is from ground level to the top level, that is still the leaf part, apex part of the plant. Then phloem transports sugar from leaves, that is from top to bottom, you can say, or to various parts of the plant body. Leaves produce sugars through photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight. Leaves take in carbon dioxide and gives out oxygen. So in the root part, if you see, it takes up oxygen, gives out carbon dioxide, whereas the leaves take in carbon dioxide, which is a raw material, during the photosynthesis. Transpiration pull xylem sap upward. So through the leaf, the transpiration takes place. What is transpiration? That is the evaporation of water through the aerial parts of the plant, that is namely the leaf, right? Now coming to the next part, that is properties of water. So here you can see a simple animation image showing water being absorbed by the root and it is transported through the xylem to various parts of the plant. So the first point, it is in the liquid form at room temperature and is best solvent for most of the solutes. What does that mean? The water which is usually in the liquid form, even though they are present in all the three forms, right? Solid, liquid, gas, but usually in the room temperature, the liquid form, and it can dissolve most of the solutes. It is inert inorganic compound with neutral pH, that is 7, when in pure form. Due to this, water is best transporting medium for dissolved minerals and food molecules. So as you see, the water which is taken by the root along with the minerals which is dissolved in it and other food molecules. It is best aqueous medium for all biochemical reactions occurring in the cells. It is an essential raw material for photosynthesis. As we know, photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water is required in presence of sunlight, and it takes place in the chlorophyll present in the leaf, right? So water is a important raw material without which the process of photosynthesis cannot take place, or rather the plant, the cells, tissues, everything will get dried. Water has high specific heat, high heat of vaporization and high heat of fusion. Now these are all what chemistry terms where we come across specific heat, heat of vaporization, heat of fusion, as it is one of the important properties of water. Due to this, it acts as a thermal buffer, or in simple words, thermal means heat. So it can minimize the heat whatever is present in the surrounding or make it a normal temperature. So it helps to acclimatize the plants, the surrounding to a normal temperature. These various properties are due to hydrogen bonds between the water molecules. Water molecules have good adhesive and cohesive forces of attraction, that is attraction and repulsion. Due to high surface tension and high adhesive and cohesive force, it can easily rise in the capillaries. It is therefore a significant molecule that connects physical world with the biological process. So in one way you can say water is an important aspect for all the biological process or living process, because all the living organism, whether it is plant or animal or any other living organism, requires water, otherwise the existence will become difficult. Moving to the next part, water absorbing organ. Now which is a water absorbing organ plant? That is root, right? So before moving on to the description part, just we can see the parts of the root, so it becomes easier to understand. Right from the secondary root, the primary root, the tertiary roots, and you can see if you go in deeper aspect, the root has where you have got region of maturation, region of elongation, region of root cap, right? All the various parts are present, including the region of cell division. So first point, root is the main organ of water and mineral absorption. So water is absorbed through root along with the minerals. In terrestrial plants, plants absorb water in the form of liquid from the soil. However, epiphytic plants like orchids absorb water vapor from air with the help of epiphytic roots having special tissues called velamen. Now in a natural phenomena, all the plants absorb the water from the soil, right? But with the exception of orchids where they are present on another plant, so the roots are usually hanging are present in the aerial. So these epiphytic roots, they absorb water vapor from the surrounding with the special type of tissues present in the roots, which is called as velamen. Typical root is visible or divisible into 4 different regions. So this part which is divisible into 4 different regions in the zone of absorption, that is epidermis cells or epiblema cells form unicellular hair-like extension called root hairs. So here we can see the different division which is visible parts of the roots. Now Structure of root hair. Root hair is cytoplasmic extension of epiblema cells. Each root hair may be approximately 1 to 10 millimeter long and tube structure, as you can see the image. It is colorless, unbranched, short-lived, ephemeral and very delicate, means it is a short-lived cells. It has a large central vacuole surrounded by thin film of cytoplasm, plasma membrane and thin cell wall, which is two layered. So here you can see the vacuole. Now just see the different parts before moving to the next point. Vacuole which is present over here, which is covered by a thin film of cytoplasm, plasma membrane and cell wall. Other than that, the root hair, the epidermal cells, the nucleus present in the root hair. The root hair over here, again you can see the nucleus over here. If you see highlighted part of it, or the zoomed in part of the root structure or root hair, you can see mitochondria also present, which helps to provide energy. The cell membrane, cell wall, cytoplasm, the vacuole, here you can see very clearly, along with the nucleus present at the periphery and the root epithelial cells. Now further, outer layer is composed of pectin and inner layer is made up of cellulose. So in general, it has got two components, pectin and cellulose. Pectin, the outer layer, and cellulose, the inner layer. Cell wall is freely permeable, but plasma membrane is selectively permeable. Now we come across the term permeable and selectively permeable. Permeable means it will allow all the particles to pass through it, whereas selectively permeable will allow only certain molecules to pass through it. So permeability allows all the molecules to pass, whereas permeability only selective or only particular molecules are allowed, which we will be learning further. Now, water available to the roots for absorption. So again you can see the image. I have added two images over here. One, you can see how the nature works. So groundwater which capillarize, how the nature's cyclic management takes place. So surface runoff from the top part, uptake by the roots into the trees by the xylem, interception, carbon sequestrant, habitat, cooling, reflection, evaporation, which is further by transpirational process. So we come across many terms related with the plants. Here we can see a simple image where all the three parts are depicted. That is the root. You can see how the root hair absorbing the water, which is passed from the root hair to the root and further into the stem. So you can see a section of stem, that is xylem, carrying the water along with the minerals with it. Then the upper part leaf, where you can see the green colored structure surrounding the layer, from where by transpiration process through the stomata you can see the water getting evaporated or transpiration taking place. So in this particular animation part, you can see water absorbent root, the water moving through the xylem and reaching towards the aerial part of the plant, that is leaf, and from the leaf through transpiration water getting transpired or evaporated. Now coming to the points, plants absorb water from rhizosphere, the microenvironment surrounding the root. So what is rhizosphere? The environment, or we can say rather microenvironment, the region surrounding the root part. Water present in the soil occurs as gravitational water, hygroscopic water, combined water and capillary water. So the water which is present in the soil are available in four forms. Which are the four forms? Gravitational water, hygroscopic water, combined water and capillary water. The four types. Now we go into the individual part of it. First one, water percolates deep due to the gravity in the soil, is called gravitational water. From the name itself, gravitational water, that is water moves with the help of the gravity. But this water is not available to the plants for absorption. Second, fine soil particles imbibe or adsorb water and hold it. This is called hygroscopic water. Root cannot absorb it. Now what is the second type? Hygroscopic. Now hygroscopic is taken up by the soil particles, or we use the term imbibe or adsorb. Root, which again cannot take up this water, right? Then third, water present in the form of hydrated oxides of silicon, aluminium, etc. is called combined water. So what is combined water? From the term combined, it is the form of hydrated oxides of which one? Silicon and aluminium. Again, this water is also not available to the plants for absorption. Fourth, some amount of water is held in the pores, a small region present between the neighboring soil particles due to capillarity. Now this water is called as capillary water, that is available for absorption. That means out of the four water table which is available, that is gravitational water, hygroscopic water, combined water and capillary water, only capillary water is readily available for absorption. Clear? Next, absorption of water by roots from the soil. So root has absorbed water by employing three physical processes that occur sequentially, or we can say systematically, one after the other. That is imbibition, diffusion and osmosis. Now imbibition, the first part. To understand this, I put a simple image where you can see in a bowl seeds or raisins. When you soak it overnight, what happens next day? It swells up. That is because of the imbibition or adsorption. Or if I give one more simple example, during the rainy season, you might have seen that the doors and windows made up of wood, they swell up. So opening the door and windows become difficult as well as closing it. Why? Because of the swelling of the doors and windows during the rainy season. And this process again what? Nothing but the process called imbibition. So the first point, imbibition is swelling up of hydrophilic colloids due to adsorption of water. Now what is hydrophilic? Hydro means, as all of you know, water. Philic, loving. So they are water loving. So this by imbibition process, water is absorbed by the hydrophilic colloids. Further, substance that absorbs water or liquid is called imbibent. So one which absorbs the water or the imbibition which takes place is by the imbibent, and water or liquid that gets imbibed is called imbibate. So we have come across three terms. One is imbibition, the process; imbibent, where the water gets absorbed; imbibate, the water or liquid that gets imbibed. Clear? Further, the root hair cell wall is made up of pectic compounds and cellulose, which are hydrophilic colloids. That means what? These cellulose and pectin are the components present which absorb the water. So as I gave you the example of doors and windows made up of wood swelling up, because of the cellulose component present in the wood, they absorb the water. That is why the doors and windows get jammed up during the rainy season, so closing and opening becomes difficult. Moving further, during imbibition, water molecule gets tightly adsorbed without the formation of solution. So here there is no formation of solution, right? Imbibition continues till the equilibrium is reached. In other words, water moves along the concentration gradient. So imbibition is significant in soaking of seeds, swelling up of dried raisins, or kneading of flour. That is, when you, as I mentioned, overnight, as mother soaks up the seeds, or when you put raisins in water, it swells up, or kneading the flour. That is when you make chapatis or any other thing, when you need the flour, whether it may be wheat, maida or any other components, right? So even that is the process of nothing called as the imbibition, nothing but imbibition. So here we've just added one more image. You can see barley seed germination, where water is imbibed by the process of imbibition. The radical, epicotyl, cotyledon, starch, seed coat, endoderm, endosperm, oleurine cells. Here through this region where water is imbibed. Now, second process, diffusion. So what is diffusion? Diffusion means to disperse. Diffusion can be defined as the movement of ions or atoms or molecules of a substance from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. Now from this definition statement, it is clear what is diffusion? Movement of ions, atoms, molecules of a substance from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Clear? Now the movement is due to kinetic energy of the molecules. Diffusion continues till an equilibrium is reached. Thus, water passes into the cell by diffusion through a freely permeable cell wall. Water is now at the interface of cell wall and the plasma membrane. So as the water moves, it continues till the equilibrium is reached. So the water which passes through the cell, they move through the freely permeable cell wall, which easily allows the water to move through the cell wall, and it is further present at the interface, that is between cell wall and the plasma membrane. Further, diffusion results in diffusion pressure or dP, which is directly proportional to the number of diffusing particles. Diffusion pressure of a pure solvent is always more than the diffusion pressure of solvent in a solution. Means what? The pressure or diffusion pressure of a pure solvent. When you say pure solvent, where there is no impurities present, so it is always more than a diffusion pressure of a solution. So the difference in diffusion pressure of pure solvent and the solvent in the solution is called diffusion pressure deficit or DPD. Now I hope this part is clear. Where what is this DPD? The difference in the diffusion pressure of the solution and the solvent, pure solvent. That is what is DPD, or in other words it is SP, that is suction pressure. Now this term was coined by B.S. Mayer in the year 1938. The scientist name to remember. Here if you see the cytoplasm, the aquaporin, the term aquaporin, the part through which the water molecules pass through. Then membrane bilayer. Here you can see the water molecule which is passing through this aquaporin. Now moving further, nowadays term water potential is used for DPD. So instead of DPD, you are using the term water potential. In colloquial language, the term DPD is actually the thirst of a cell with which it absorbs water from the surrounding. Water around cell wall has more diffusion pressure than cell sap. Due to this, water moves in the cell by diffusion. So here the term DPD is further changed or learnt as water potential. So the term DPD in simple words means thirst of a cell. So cell is thirsty, it needs water, so it absorbs the water from the surrounding region. Diffusion is significant in plants in absorption of water, minerals, conduction of water against the gravity, exchange of gases, transport and distribution of food. Means what? So diffusion is an important part because the diffusion process helps in the absorption of water along with minerals, helps in conduction of water, also in exchange of gases, as well as for the transportation of food. So here I added animation image what you saw in the earlier slide where the cell membrane is present. Here you can see this aquaporin through which the water molecule passes through the cytoplasmic membrane. So here the channel protein which is present. Now third term, osmosis. So again the term imbibition, then diffusion. Now coming to the third important term, that is osmosis. It is a process by which water enters into the cytoplasm of the root hair cell. Osmosis is a special type of diffusion of solvent through a semi-permeable membrane. So now once again we come to the term semi-permeable membrane. So Here to better understand, I had given two animation images. In both, if you observe carefully, the first one, as I'm highlighting in this particular beaker, you can see two parts where first part the water molecules are present, and second part the water molecule and sugar molecules are present. So if you see the water molecules, the smaller molecules, they easily pass through the membrane, whereas the sugar molecule does not move from the right end to the left end. Why? Because it is not permeable, whereas for water it is permeable. So the low sugar concentration towards the left side, whereas high sugar concentration on the right side. Or in other words, here you have to understand low sugar concentration, but the water concentration is high, whereas on other side it is high sugar concentration but low water concentration. So it is understood, it is a term, if the sugar concentration is higher, that means the water concentration will automatically decrease, whereas if the water concentration is higher, that means the sugar concentration is less, right? Then the second image, again you can see the semi-permeable membrane. Here also you can see the molecule, the larger molecule, they are not allowed to pass through the semi-permeable membrane, whereas the water molecule, they easily pass through to and fro through this semi-permeable membrane. So the term semi-permeable means it allows only certain molecules or substances to pass through it. So here water molecules can pass through it, whereas the larger molecules they are not allowed to pass through the membrane. So semi-permeable, partially permeable to certain molecules. Moving further, the next point, the cytoplasm of the root cell contains minerals, sugar, etc. In other words, solution inside the cell is more concentrated than outside. Therefore, solvent from weaker solution enters into the cytoplasm of a cell through a semi-permeable plasma membrane. This migration of solvent is called osmosis. So now with this definition term, as well as the image, it is very clear that water molecule passes through the semi-permeable membrane into the higher concentration, or as we learned, from the weaker solution to the stronger solution or higher sugar concentration. Thus, water at the interface of the cell wall and plasma membrane enters into the cytoplasm of the root hair cell due to osmosis. So this water is moving from the low sugar concentration to the higher sugar concentration due to osmosis. Clear? Now, few terms over here, or we can say types as well, with respect to concentration and osmotic migration. There are three types of solution: hypotonic, hypotonic, isotonic. What is hypotonic? The term hypo means weak solution or strong solvent having low osmotic concentration. Hypertonic, the from term hyper means strong solution or weak solvent having high osmotic concentration. So if you see here, in hypotonic, solution is weak and low osmotic concentration. The solvent is strong. In hypotonic, solution is strong, as the name hyper, and high osmotic concentration, whereas the solvent is weak. Third, isotonic, having such a concentration of solution where there is neither gain nor loss of water in an osmotic system. In other words, concentration outside and inside the cell is same. So iso means we can say the concentration in either side, outside and inside, remains the same. So to justify the points, I put over here few animation image showing hypotonic, where water easily is taken up by the cell and swells up, or we can use the term turgid. Isotonic, outside and inside remains the same, so there is no change in the cell. Third type, hypotonic. In that case, what happens? The water is given from inside to outside, so the cell becomes flaccid. Okay. Now, second here, that is osmosis is of two types: exosmosis, endosmosis. Now when you say exo, it means outside. Here endo means inside. So exosmosis, it is the migration of solvent from cells outside. It causes flaccidity of the cell. So here you can see in this image how it becomes flaccid. End osmosis, it is a migration of solvent into the cell. It causes turgidity of the cell, that is cytoplasm becomes turgid, or in simple word it swells up, as you can see in this first animation image. The TP or the turgor pressure is the pressure exerted by the turgid cell sap on the cell membrane and the cell wall. Again, I added an image over here. Difference between endosmosis and exosmosis. If you take endosmosis, the swollen resin, when you put in water, that is resins, when you put in water, it gets swollen, correct? Because it takes up the water by endosmosis. Here, exosmosis, when you put fresh grapes inside the salt solution, it gets shrunken or flaccid. Okay. Further, in a fully turgid cell, the diffusion pressure deficit is zero. Cell wall, being thick and rigid, exerts a counter pressure on the cell sap. This is called wall pressure, or in short WP. So in a fully turgid cell, TP is equal to WP, but operating in a opposite direction. So the wall pressure is equal to the turgid pressure or turgor pressure. Further, osmotic pressure. The pressure exerted due to osmosis is osmotic pressure. So osmotic pressure is a pressure of the solution which is required in opposite direction, so as to stop the entry of solvent molecules into these cells. So as you know, usually the lower concentration, that is water molecules, moving to the from weaker to the stronger solution, not vice versa. More simply, osmotic pressure of a solution is equivalent to the pressure which must be exerted upon it to prevent flow of solvent across a semi-permeable membrane. Therefore, dPd is equal to OP minus Tp. That is, in simple words, as you have learned here, Tp is equal to Wp. So dPd, what is dPd? Diffusion pressure deficit is equal to osmotic pressure minus wall pressure. So in a flaccid cell, that is a cell which is flaccid, Tp is 0, that means dPd will be equal to OP. If it is a turgid cell, the dPd will be 0, so Tp will be equal to OP, that is vice versa. If it is flaccid, diffusion pressure deficit and osmotic pressure will be same. If it is turgid, the turgor pressure and osmotic pressure will be same. So here showing the semi-permeable membrane, as you saw in the earlier animation part, the solute which is present over here, the stronger solution, here the water weaker solution moves from the water molecules can move from on either side of the semi-permeable membrane, whereas the larger molecules will remain in the stronger solution. Now, further, facilitated diffusion. This facilitated diffusion, that is the passive absorption of solutes when mediated by a carrier, is called facilitated diffusion, or in simple words we can use the term facilitate, or to make it available, right? So it is made available by a carrier. So particles that are lipid soluble can easily diffuse through lipoproteinous cell membrane. What is lipoproteinous? Means lipid membrane along with the protein cell wall. So the diffusion of hydrophilic solutes, means water loving solutes, has to be facilitated because the diffusion across the cell membrane is difficult. So the membrane protein provides such sites for facilitated diffusion. These proteins are aquaporins and ion channels. So as you saw in the earlier images, aquaporin and the ion channels through which the water molecule pass through the cell membrane. These proteins help move substances across membrane without the expenditure of energy. So there is no expenditure of energy. Concentration gradient must be present for the molecules to be diffused through the facilitated diffusion. So there should be a particular concentration gradient because of which the molecules can easily be diffused or carried through the facilitated diffusion. So here we can see what is facilitated diffusion. Here the cell membrane, as you saw in the earlier images, the molecules are present, how it is passed through. So it is better understood by the animation over here. So outside this cell, so how it is facilitated, so as the molecules come near to the protein membrane, or the, as you say, the ion channels or the aquaporins, the facilitated diffusion takes place. That is, it helps to molecules to pass through the membrane to the inside of the cell. So that is what is facilitated diffusion. Unlike what you saw in the earlier animation, molecules moving on its own by the osmotic pressure or other pressure, but here it is facilitated. Now, water potential, it is given by the symbol psi. According to the principle of thermodynamics, now coming to the physical aspect, physics part, thermodynamics, or even chemistry part, every component of a system is having a definite amount of free energy which is used to do work. Osmotic movement of water is on the basis of free energy. So that free energy per molecule in a channel system is called chemical potential. So in simple words, the free energy per molecule in the chemical system, hence the term chemical potential. Further, chemical potential of water is called water potential. So this chemical potential in turn is called as the water potential, and it is represented by the Greek letter psi. So you can see the symbol over here like a trishul, right? Psi. Water potential of protoplasm is equal but opposite in sign to dPd. It has negative value. The unit of measurement is in bars, Pascal, atmosphere. So what is the unit of measurement? Bar, Pascal or atmosphere. Water potential of pure water is always 0, or in simple words, as you know, the pH value of water is usually neutral, right? So your water potential of pure water is 0. Addition of any solute in it decreases its psi value, therefore it has negative value. So dPd is now termed as water potential. Okay, now see how it goes step by step. OP, osmotic pressure, is now termed as osmotic potential, whereas turgor pressure is now termed as pressure potential. So now here all these changes from dPd to water potential, from OP to osmotic potential, from TP to pressure potential. It has positive value. So if you see the image just added over here for a better understanding, pure water solution, that is present of solutes in it, pure water, the turgor cell which takes up the water and swells up. So you can see the water potential. Water always flows from negative potential to more negative water potential, that is from higher potential area to the lower potential area. Difference between water potential of adjacent cell decides the movement of water through plasma desmata across these cells. What is plasma desmata? You might have learned in the chapter cell organelles, where the cell wall, they have got small pores between the cell membrane, plasma membrane. This small opening or the pore is nothing but the plasma desmata. So through which the movement of water takes place across the cells. Now, factors affecting the absorption. So here there are 5 factors. Firstly, presence of capillary water is essential. So as we learned in the beginning of this part, capillary water is necessary for the water absorption. Second, rate of water absorption is maximum at soil temperature between 20 degree and 30 degree centigrade. Third, higher concentration of solute in the soil water reduce the rate of absorption of water. Fourth, poor aerated soil shows poor absorption. Because there is no aeration, means there is no availability of oxygen. In other words, the aeration is less, so water absorption will also be less. Increased transpiration accelerates the rate of absorption of water in irrigated soil. That means if the process of transpiration is increased, automatically the rate of absorption of water is also increased. So here added two images. One, the image where you can see water and minerals getting absorbed with the root along with the oxygen, giving out carbon dioxide, whereas as the water and minerals move upwards through the xylem, the water is evaporated from the leaf, that is aerial part of the plant, as we say transpiration. Carbon dioxide is taken in during photosynthesis and oxygen is given out in presence of sunlight, and the sugar molecule or the glucose, or we can say the food, is prepared in the leaf, that is a chlorophyll, by the photosynthesis, which is again transported through phloem to the different parts of the plant body. So here we can see the animation image where high water potential takes up water through the root, passes through the stem through xylem, reaches the plant. So you can see here the green colored leaf part where through which the stomata, small opening, the water gets transpired or evaporated. Clear? So whatever we have learned today, the assignment question based on today's part of the chapter. So thank you all of you. Hope the concept is clear.